This is the Distinguished Toastmaster project for Wanjiro Kaburu. And in the journey of Distinguished Toastmaster, there are various aspects that members need to understand so that they are able to pursue and achieve towards becoming Distinguished Toastmasters. Now, for this interview, we are going to address the education requirements that are required. And given that we are all in the Pathways program currently, I would like our panelists, Peter Mutua DTM and Nduati Karanja, who is at the verge of becoming a DTM, to help us understand these requirements. So my first question is, in the journey of becoming a Distinguished Toastmaster and our current program, which is Pathways, there are education requirements. What are these and what do they entail? What are the education requirements for a member to be able to achieve or pursue or get a DTM award? Mutua, having been here for the longest time, maybe you can help us understand the education requirements for Distinguished
Thank you very much,
Award.
Esther, for Wanjiro, for inviting me to speak about something that I'm very passionate about. Just a bit of history. I have had the good opportunity to have pursued the Distinguished Toastmasters path through both the traditional path and what is now the Pathways path. And the elements that are important are the same in both, because you need to develop a leadership and speaking skills. And these manifest themselves differently in the different paths. So for the traditional path, we did what is the basic competent communicator manual. And what was interesting about this path is that the leadership and the communication was separated paths. So to your competent leadership manual, which had led to the competent advanced leader, which led to the advanced silver gold, advanced leader silver, advanced leader bronze, leader silver, and then you had your communication path that led from competent communicator to advanced communicator bronze, silver, and then gold, and the combination of those, the amalgam created the Distinguished Toastmaster. Because there's a mixture, there's a blend of the parts, of the two different communicator and the leadership parts. And what you find is that for you to achieve your Distinguished Toastmaster through the Pathways requires you to complete separate parts. And after completing separate parts, you're expected to either mentor or sponsor a club. And after mentoring and sponsoring a club, you're also expected to serve as an officer within.
Thank you very much, Peter Mutua DTM. It is clear that for anyone to ever get to the Distinguished Toastmaster status, they have to complete one path and a second path. And currently, with the program as it is possible to pursue more than one path concurrently. So members can choose the path that they are comfortable with, or after going through the assessment that is given by Toastmasters on the REACH program on the website, you can actually pursue two paths at a go, which is the first requirement for you to ever become a Distinguished Toastmaster. Thank you very much for that. My second question, in your experience, what is the growth that comes with the execution and the completion of these two paths? Is it just a vague requirement that has been imposed by Toastmasters International, or out of your experience, do you think it comes with growth and value and hence is a requirement? Nduati Karanja, what would you say in your experience, the growth that comes with it?
Thank you very much. There are certain competencies that demonstrate the public speaker and others. And from these parts that you're going to complete, you're going to acquire in ways that you can apply to Toastmasters For example, the ability to create a blog, the ability to manage large projects, and also to become a professional speaker. The other thing is that as you're going through these parts, you find that your confidence is growing. I like the way they've just arranged them. There are 5 levels and you complete a path. The process of going through each of those levels one step at a time builds your confidence bit by bit. By the time you get to level 5, you find that it has exploded. And finally, it is critical thinking, or rather strategic thinking. To complete these parts, you need to think ahead, you need to plan yourself, you need to figure out how you're going to accomplish different projects. And so the process of going through that thinking and planning improves you as public speaker and also as a leader. And so there are a myriad of ways that you're going to grow as you complete these 2 parts that are required for the DTM.
Right, thank you very much, Nduati Karanja. I'm picking a lot of getting lessons and skills on project planning, critical thinking, working in teams, confidence, and being able to be in a space where you're in control of things that are happening as a leader in an organization, in a team you lead at work or a business, and even being your own personal leader, because aspects like being able to manage time are lessons or skills we all need at individual level. Peter Mutua, having explored or gone through the old program, now pathways, you have DTM, you've gone through the DTM process 3 times. What can you point out as very clear skills that you've grown and, growth? How can you define the growth that has come about through Toastmasters?
That's an excellent question, Wanjiru. And what I have found in my case is not so much what I have experienced in terms of what I'd say being more fluent in terms of talking, being more comfortable in being able to speak impromptu, being able to speak and prepare speeches even for other people. More is the reports I get from other people who interact with me and who have had an opportunity to interact with me over the years, and then have seen the transformation that has happened on account of me being a Toastmaster. Because some of these results are not tangible to me, but they are experienced by everyone. So my wife will tell you that I'm able to summarize an argument within a very short, very, very succinct manner, which is not obviously pleasing to her sometimes. It might not work in that sense because it might not be what was intended. But at the same time, it's a skill that I have gotten in terms of being able to listen critically and to say back what it is that has been said. More than that, then, is the ability to lead, even among leaders, because Toastmasters, I keep saying, is self-selected for excellence. It is self-selected for outstanding individuals within society. And if I can lead among the Toastmasters, then it means that I can lead at the highest levels of society, the highest levels of government, the highest levels of church. So what has happened is that now I'm able to interact very comfortably at any level that I'm called upon to do so, which means that if, for instance, I were called into the president's presence for any reason, and then I'm talking about the president of the republic, not necessarily the president of my club, I will have something to contribute from my position of strength. I will be able to articulate whatever it is that has been laid out for me to articulate to him in a manner that he can understand, and then I'll be able to live with dignity without necessarily embarrassing myself by taking a selfie. Because again, I have encountered leaders like Nduati, my friend here, who is of that caliber. It's not that I wish him State House as well, but it's helpful to know that I have interacted with leaders at the highest possible level, so I'm comfortable about them. And I think for me, that has been the greatest return from my Toastmasters experience. Back to you, Angela.
Great. So what Mutua is bringing out is the aspect of transferable skills that we get in Toastmasters. And it is helpful in the personal life, as you are cited, even dealing with your spouse in the house. And also professionally, when you're dealing with colleagues and the teams you work with. And even on a higher skill, it helps you be able to add value in whatever platform that you find yourself in. Like he's citing, very high-end boardroom meetings with who are who's of the world. As a Toastmaster, having gone through the education program, Mutua is confidently telling us out of experience that it gives you that confidence, the skill, the know-how to approach any people from whatever platform, whatever level, and speak something without embarrassing yourself, as you rightfully put it. Thank you very much. That is very rich. Now, my third question. I've also gone through two paths and pursuing my third path. And what I'm realizing with pathways is that it is one, very structured, but also it is quite mouthful, if I can use that word. So having completed three paths, what would you say is the secret to such success? How would you say members can approach pathways in such a way that they are able to systematically go through a path and another one as a recommendation or as a requirement rather for DTM? What is the secret? What are some of the tips that have helped you through that journey? Nduati, Karanja.
Thank you very much, Wanjiro. For me, what has helped me the most is planning my projects in advance. At any particular time, I usually have an idea of what I'm going to do in the next 2 or 3 months, the specific projects, which club I'm going to do them, the projects at, and when I'm going to do them. That helps me structure and put Toastmasters in my own schedule so that it's not an ad hoc thing. It's not something that you're doing last minute. When you hear there's a speaking slot in a club, that is when you start thinking about what you're going to, which project you're going to deliver. That is the first thing that you need to do. Have a plan of how you're going to complete your 2 parts. And it is absolutely possible to lay out a 1-year plan and then slowly, systematically go through the individual projects. The next thing is getting a mentor. Most people, like Peter Mutua has completed 3 parts. I've completed 3 parts. You are in your 3rd part, and we have a lot of experiences dealing with the projects in these parts. There are some that are quite unique, and you need someone who's experienced to guide you through the process of getting the resources and also successfully completing that project. And so refer to the people who have completed the path that you're on, and you're going to be able to zoom right through it. And then the next thing is getting the joy out of the projects. I recently completed a project called Managing a Difficult Audience. From what I've heard from other people, I got quite scared, but what got me through it, what made me commit and decide that I was going to complete it, was I found the joy in it. I realized that there's a lot that I can get out of it as an individual, and Toastmasters is learning while having fun, and so it is not that serious, it's not life-threatening, it's not critical. So just find the joy in the different projects that you're going to complete, and that joy is what is going to keep you going one project after another. Because if you find at the beginning the projects feel tedious to you, as time goes by, it's going to become difficult. But if you look for the joy, how to relate it to your own personal goals, how to relate it, how to enjoy yourself while you're completing that project, you're going to find that you're able to make it to the very end. And the final thing that I would advise is go through the project material carefully, because each project is going to teach you something. It has been designed to teach you something. Learning what you are supposed to learn, after a while your journey feels like it's useless and it's pointless. And so make sure that you go through the project material carefully, and you'll find that you are learning something, and that sense of learning is going to keep you going to the very end. Back to you, Anjiro.
Fantastic. I'm sitting here and wishing this interview was available to me earlier than now, because I'm hearing planning. You plan in advance, schedule your project, and when you're reaching out to your club or visiting a club, you're already sure of the projects you have scheduled within a particular time, and you can seek opportunities to pursue this project. And number two, something Toastmasters really advocate: mentorship. Because in Toastmasters, we talk about helping each other as peers grow. So for you to be able to move through the two paths and not just complete, but grow through them, it is important for us to engage mentors. And then Nduati has talked about joy. Find joy in the project. Don't take it so seriously as much as it is serious. Find moments to enjoy. And lastly, he has talked about going through every material. I like it, Nduati, when you say every project is designed to teach you something, to help you learn something. So it is important for members to understand that going through materials for every project is very key to our growth as we go through the Pathways program. Thank you very much. Mutua, as a veteran, I'm sure you have a tip or two to add to the wisdom shared by Nduati Karanja.
I think mine would be to reemphasize the importance of what Nduati has mentioned with regard to approaching each project as a unique project in and of itself, even if it's in a different path. It's important to understand that the projects are put in the path for a specific purpose to achieve the building of a specific skill. And I made that mistake once or twice of imagining that just because the levels, it's an icebreaker in level 1, icebreaker in this path, effective coaching and leadership, persuading or influence, some of those ones. You imagine that that's the same, but the objectives are different because the objectives are tuned towards the objectives of the path itself. So I really want to reemphasize on what he has said, that each path and each project should be approached as a unique one to build specific skills, that we must never overlook that. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you very much. I've had very many members saying, why all these icebreakers? You know, you do the first part and there is an icebreaker. And if you have gone through the whole program, like I did CC, you had already done another icebreaker. And then you're starting a second part and there's an icebreaker, you know, and then you look at the second level of the paths and there is, you know, research and presenting projects that are, and you start wondering why all this redundancy. So I'm happy when DTM Mutua points out that don't look at it that way. Every project is not the same as the other. It's actually an opportunity to further grow. Is it research and presenting? It's an opportunity now to explore a different topic and present on it. Is it on evaluation and feedback? Growth is just continuous. It's another opportunity to just approach that project differently. That's very rich. Thank you very much, Mutua. Now, you might have answered this last question somehow in your responses, but I would love to hear in a very particular way. Because I usually come from the school of thought that Toastmasters is not designed to grow you if you're not actively involved. You know, the wealth is there, but until you consume it, and we have this thing we say, it's learning by doing. So it means if there is no doing, then the learning and the growth does not really quite happen. So what would you tell fellow Toastmasters in regards to why every Toastmaster should take every path and every project in their Distinguished Toastmasters journey seriously? What particular tips or advice would you give to fellow Toastmasters in regard to taking every path or project along the way seriously? Nduati.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Wanjiro. I think the most important reason why you should take each project and each path seriously is because they took years to develop. They were not just thought of in an evening and then presented to Toastmasters clubs all over the world. Toastmasters International did a lot of research and over several years and found that the specific skills and competencies being taught in these projects and in these parts are very relevant to the market of today. And There are people who came from the traditional storytelling program manual. They're like, we wish things were like that back in those days. However, the fact is that the world of today requires different skills from what was being taught in the past. And so, first of all, you need to trust the material. And by trusting the material, then you're going to take it seriously because it has been researched and it has been tested. And even for those of us who have completed several parts, it has been proven in our own lives that these particular projects and parts work. And in addition to that, as just to reiterate, each of the projects has something unique to teach you. And yeah, just to give you an example, I'm right now pursuing my fourth path, and I've done the introduction to mentoring 4 times. The first time I was doing it, I was like, I've never been mentored in my life, and I couldn't think of a mentor immediately. It took me a while to think over my life, and I identified someone who had mentored me back in high school. And then later, when I did it again, I identified someone else who has contributed to my life. And each time there's a different person who I have identified, and I did not think of them immediately. And so that is what comes from taking these projects seriously. You dig deep inside yourself, and these aspects of yourself that become revealed. There are things that you have potential that is hidden in you that is lying dormant. And by taking each project seriously, no matter how many times you're doing it, you'll find that it can enrich you in a myriad of ways. Back to you, Anjiro.
Thank you very much, Nduati. I hope that encourages every Toastmaster or prospective Toastmaster will watch this interview, because when you talk of trust the material, it gets me back to the people who really worked, because Pathways is quite rich to put that content there with the substance that it has. And you'll say that once you trust the material, it gives you the room to look at it seriously and help you dig deep and realize, actually, there are various ways of telling a story, or they help you reflect, like they helped you realize, actually, someone in high school was a mentor. Maybe you've never put the tag mentor on them, but that's who they really were. So yeah, I think that's a very important aspect of trusting the material, and then allowing every project to help you look deep and apply how you can apply it in your own life, look back, reflect, and grow through telling these stories. That's amazing. Mutua, after interacting with you for a while now, courtesy of Toastmasters, I've known you for some time. There's this thing you love saying about make every project count. Maybe you can align it to answering this question and share and tell us or advise Toastmasters why they should really take every project in Toastmasters seriously. Over to you.
Thank you very much for that. I say it so often, I can't even remember in which setting I must have told it to you. And you're correct. One of the challenges I had with the previous program is where we had dichotomized Toastmasters for the club and Toastmasters within the works. I find that Toastmasters had been really just specifically put for only the club itself. So I do the project as a club project. I'm evaluated at the club and I put it aside, and then I go along my life and just go along with my life and wait for the next meeting to come and work on the project itself and other objectives. And one of the things that I did and I discovered that Toastmasters allows you to do is that you can practice these things outside the Toastmasters setting, so that you can apply the things, the pointers about a motivational speech that are put within a Toastmasters project and apply it within a work setting where you've been called to give speeches to young people, to deliver end of year speech, to do something within the work setting. And I think that frustration for me came clear when I had a particular person I was mentoring who was stuck at one of the projects requiring her to make a presentation, the use of visual aids. Now, this individual worked in a bank where there were 3 or 4 other Toastmasters within the same bank to whom she was making presentations. And it never occurred to her to make a project out of this presentation manual, give it to one of the people who are present in that room, and obviously first get permission from your Vice President Education. If you want to deliver a project outside your club, please make sure you do that. Don't come with it as a finished project and tell the VP Education, there it is, I'm done. And once she had done, she didn't do that over a period of years. And it was very sad because all these opportunities for her to progress went begging, because week after week, she delivered the presentations to her superiors and whoever it is that was presenting to. And that opportunity just went like that. And it's unfortunate because then what it meant is that she never incorporated the specific skills that Toastmasters teaches you into the work that she was doing on a day-to-day basis. And this is what I keep saying, that if you're called to be a master of ceremonies in a place, take that as a Toastmasters project of some sort. Even if you don't get credit for it on the education project, treat it as a Toastmasters project. And I have had such a fantastic outcome whenever I do that, because what happens is that if you put in the planning skills that are required, if you divide roles, just roles and responsibilities, and assign them to individuals, what happens is that your meeting or your function or your event runs like clockwork. And people come and say, oh, and oh my goodness, how did you do this? It was like it was magic. But better still is when people don't notice how smoothly and how smoothly the project ran. It becomes so automatic that even when a wedding, for instance, ends at 4:30 on the dot, people are so pleasantly surprised. It never occurs to them that this was a matter of effort. There was so much more effort. And I have seen, and because of being a Toastmaster, then I don't, and I'm used to feedback, including silence. You know, when you're in Zoom, you get used to zero feedback. There's nothing. I can't hear what Wanjiru is saying. I can only see them smiling. So it doesn't offend you when people don't come and commend you for running meetings on time, because first of all, they never imagined it was possible to start with. So they think there was something missing. You know, people will only go back home and review after 3 or 4 weeks and realize actually everything that was supposed to happen in that wedding actually happened. So nothing was cut off. No one was interrupted in the speech. There was never the phrase "in the interest of time" mentioned at any one point, because you planned everything to perfection. So you never have to put the pressure on a speaker to limit what their comments, because you've understood them, you met them before, you put all these things into, you measure them, you've understood who speaks for how long, and it's an amazing thing. So I want to encourage people, count everything as the project that can, if it regards communication, if it regards leadership, is something that can gain from you applying the skills that you learned from a project. Back to you, Wanjiru.
Thank you very much. In a very enthusiastic way, Mutua has led us to just feel the beauty of Toastmasters. And in his words, paraphrased, he's saying we need to take every project seriously because there is a way it translates into our life and how we handle things. And when you look at how Toastmasters is structured and your life and things you're engaged in, running a boardroom meeting, giving a presentation at work, being an MC in a function, being called out to pray, that's a table topics right there. You know, being present, and that's why we talk about listening skills project in Toastmasters. They help you just become a whole person who is better at your professional and personal life. And I love that you've brought the aspects of how Toastmasters can also progress fast by taking advantage of opportunities outside the club. I think that's a very good point you've brought out to those who are not aware, that in liaison with your Vice President Education, making sure they are aware, you can carry out a project outside the club as long as there is a Toastmaster present in that forum who can evaluate and give you feedback on that particular project. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you consuming the knowledge from these two, Nduati Karanja, who has done 3 paths already and pursuing his 4th path, the same for Peter Mutua here, you will be able to understand the education requirements, and not just knowing that you need to complete 2 paths, but getting to understand the value that comes out of it, the growth, and how you can even further apply this knowledge outside. So it is my hope that this video adds value and that you get to pursue your Distinguished Toastmaster program. And one day you just say you're a Distinguished Toastmaster, I think with a times 3 or 4, like Peter Mutua here. And Nduati Karanja, all the best. I know you're in the last stage of giving your documents to become a Distinguished Toastmaster. So congratulations for that stride. And I hope we all continue adding value to our fellow Toastmasters at club, area, division, district level, and even the world at large. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Peter Mutua, DTM, and Nduati Karanja. And I am hopeful that these will be value to our members. Have a great time and stay safe. It is COVID times.